Mary is not only the most outstanding Christian, she's in fact the first and most faithful Christian. The event of Annunciation became the tipping point episode for humanity as well as for the entire created universe. The angel Gabriel announced to Mary that she would conceive the Son of God through the power of the Holy Spirit. In her utter simplicity, she could not understand. How can this be, since I did not have any relation with a man? Yet she held firm was that nothing is impossible for God. Mary, in her freedom, consented to God's liberating will. The entire cosmos that had waited with bated breath rejoiced exultantly in her fiat. Mary became the first Christian as she gave her agreement to God's invitation. She became the first person who received Christ not only in her soul but in her womb. A perfect reception of Christ. Because of this, Mary was made the splendid model of Christians for all ages. Like Mary, we are graciously invited by God to receive Christ in us, and in freedom we submit and open ourselves to God. Thus, in baptism, we receive Christ in our soul and are incorporated into His body, the Church. In His love, God offers His only begotten Son in the Eucharist to us, so that we may receive the fullness of Christ, not only in our soul, but in our entire being. We may not comprehend why God chose us, how He entered our life, and how Christ is truly in the Eucharist. Just like Mary, we lift up our hearts to the Lord and confidently say that nothing is impossible for God. However, accepting Christ in our life is always a radical choice. Often, it entails a lot of perils and life-threatening situations. Mary was pregnant practically outside marriage, and for a woman like Mary, that is punishable with death. Indeed, with Jesus around, Mary's life was no longer normal. Even as Jesus ended His earthly life tragically, Mary became the sharer of Christ's cross. Yet, in the face of these trials and dangers, Mary did not waver and stood her ground to the end. While other male disciples betrayed, denied, and ran away from Jesus, Mary was there at the foot of the cross, not weeping, not kneeling, not complaining. She was standing with firmness of heart, looking at the fruit of her womb, murdered like an animal. Just like Mary, our life with Christ may draw many undesirable consequences. Being honest while others are not, being truthful while others tell lies, and being forgiving while others seek vengeance. Yet, we learn from Mary that with Christ, we are empowered to stand our ground to the end. Mary was taken up to heaven because she was the most outstanding Christian. And we can be certain that we will be taken up to heaven because we follow the footsteps of Mary, the first and most faithful Christian.